You tell me.
Okay.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's council meeting. And it's 7:05. We'll call our meeting to order. Do I have those agenda items? Okay. Let's hold on a few seconds while we sign a few of these pre-made agenda motions. Give me the one for the calling the meeting to order as soon as you got that. We'll organize the rest after.
One. Okay, the signature there.
I'm gonna be in camera, so I won't do that. I guess I can. Maybe I won't do it on the that says in camera. That won't be part of that.
You made good coffee, right, Kevin?
What's that?
I said, you made good coffee.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Good. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Okay. So, motion to adopt the agenda is moved by Councillor Mo, seconded by Councillor Hassan, that council adopt the agenda of regular meeting RM24-2020 as presented. Are there any additions, comments on the agenda? All right, all in favor then? Okay, and Councillor Sibiston, are you in favor of the agenda, adopting the agenda?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, and can we turn up that phone at all? Is that about as high as it goes?
That's it.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor, are you in favor of the motion to adopt the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so noted. 7-4, none against, motion's carried. And any declarations of interest in any of the items this evening? The one, just so that people know, the contractual matter involves Reg Bellefontaine, his company, and some previous discussions that had been held regarding a contractual matter. Okay, so Councillor Bellefontaine?
Yeah, I guess I'll declare bias, so
Okay.
I'll just step out for that.
Okay, and I will too, bias, he's my friend. So I'll declare on that one. All right, any others? Okay. Council absences, we did get notification before the meeting started that Councillor McPherson would be unable to attend. So I've got a motion moved by Councillor Hassan, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that council excuse Councillor McPherson from regular meeting RM 24-2020. All those in favor? Okay, and Councillor Sibiston, are you in favor?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor, are you in favor?
Yes.
All right, that's 7 in favor, none against, motion's carried, and councillor is excused. So getting on to it now, we have a delegation this evening, and Mike Oko, a director in the thermal division of NTPC, is here tonight to give us a rundown. The company is putting in a development permit to put in the LNG plant on top of the hill, and Mike is here to give us a little bit of a briefing on that. So, Mike, if you'd like, you can come to the front of the table. You could sit there too. I mean, it's fine.
I'm fine right here.
Okay, sure.
So, yes, the development permit is to install an LNG facility, a power plant, and tankage for that LNG facility on top of the hill. You're aware of the lots, which is right next to, it's actually just down the road from Enbridge.
That's the village shop right there.
That's a village
You'll put
one.
that up
So,
there?
yeah, it's right next to the village shop there. Those two lots.
We don't really have any,
I don't have my notes with me right now, which lot and plan it is, but it's,
hold it up there, we'll hold them up. Hold it up.
yeah, it's those two lots next to the village.
Right.
One used to be owned by Eagle Building Supplies, and then the other lot, which was, I believe, owned by, at one point, Paul Gilles. A lease on.
Right,
So both of those lots have been, the environmental assessment has been done on both those lots. One was definitely needed some work, which was done. So that has been approved by the GNWT. And our plan is to build that LNG facility mainly towards the village on that section. And the reason why we wanted to the village shop is there definitely we have to abide by the boundaries. And but our plan eventually is to move the whole facility up on top of the hill to get the diesel plant off of the island, because who knows how long it's going to take. It's not going to be within 2-3 years of bank erosion, but at some point it's going to take over, right?
mhm,
So, and there is ISEF funding for the project, 75%. 25% is funded by NTPC. And it's the main reason why we want to do this is to lower the the diesel consumption and lower GHGs. So to give you a little bit of explanation on with the Inuvik power plant, which is, we have diesel and gas up there. The emissions are a lot lower, of course, with gas power plants, and the noise is a lot less too, right? We recently went to the board of directors with various options, and we still have to go back to the board with finalizing our estimates. But what we want to do is go with 2 gas engines. So about 95%, 90 to 95% if the LNG supply could come in, but we do have our shoulder seasons, would be produced from, when we do have LNG supply, 95% of the power would be produced by those gas engines. So this plant down on the island would be quiet. It would remain backup. Our plan is to have full fiber optic and also satellite link between the two. So they're constantly talking. So if that plant up there goes down, you're not going to end up with any long outages. It's just going to take over. If there's an alarm up there, the dispatch will automatically say, start up the diesel. So I don't know if you have further questions or some more information that I'm missing there.
so this project is slated to start this summer?
Yes, we're trying to get it that we could get to the point of civil work this summer. And that would be to start the civil work for the construction of the power plant, the pads for the tanks. There'll be 3 LNG tanks, horizontal, installed. There was talk about going with more tankage, but it comes down to cost, right? So, and just to give you an idea, Inuvik will burn through one of those tanks that's smaller than the ones that are proposed for here in about 3.5 days. But our load in Inuvik is 4 times the amount that it is here. So we're going for like about 17 days once the tanks are full. So, you know, without the shoulder season, we definitely have enough gas supply with the 3 storage tanks. If the council wants to have some information on LNG, yes, it's a cryogenic product. It is very cold. It comes in the truck at 162 degrees, minus 162 degrees Celsius. At first in Inuvik, it was, it was a learning curve for us, but it's basically, it's like almost pumping water, right? It's very clean. There hasn't been any instance. It's very clean to the environment. If you were to actually spill some on the ground, it would just evaporate. There's no soil cleanup, nothing that needs to be done with it.
Oh, nice.
For transport trucks, there'd be, I can't, there'd be contractual contracts that would be coming out that could be viable for a company in the community to get in with the suppliers of the LNG. Currently, right now, the LNG comes out of two places. One is Dawson Creek campus is one of the LNG facilities, and the other one is Ferris out of Elmsworth, just outside of Grand Prairie. And due to COVID, they're slightly behind. There's another company, CryoPeak. I don't know if you've seen it, but they're going to have a facility right in Fort Nelson, which should be up and running in spring.
So with the noise, how loud is the power station itself?
It'll be less quieter. It'll be quieter than this one downtown.
Yeah, I mean, I walked by that one in Inuvik and I didn't even notice any sound.
Yeah, the gas engines are like half the decibels. Yeah, it basically when we run on the gas engine in Inuvik, the staff morale just increases
Yeah,
because everybody's so happy they don't have to listen to the diesels, right?
yeah.
So it makes a big difference. It's so we're looking at two engines, two full gas engines up in that facility with a extra bay for the starting the expansion for the diesel, moving up the diesel, right? And the other thing too is with when that conversion, if the project goes forward, which we're hoping it does, you will not, naturally, we won't have to store as much diesel either.
Mhm.
Right.
I noticed that recommendation by our administration was that there might be some work required on Jimmy Isaiah Drive, I guess, to take the bigger trucks turning and coming in and out of, is that something that you just,
Yeah, it's just, the road's it's not, nothing wrong with it as such, but it's not in great shape.
right, and we
It's
were
not-
planning
We
on
don't have a
doing
lot of
some,
traffic on that.
yeah, not a lot of traffic, so we'd have to look at a little bit of the ditching and as it is now, but that was already something that we were,
Yeah, so the site plan, I think, I didn't bring it with me, but I think you have a copy of it.
where the
Is
entrance.
we would come in, because like I say, we're gonna be closer to the village side, the truck would come in, offload by the tanks, and then just do a loop and just come straight out,
Yeah,
right? So it's just a little bit of portion past the village there that the truck would come in.
okay, Councillor Hassan.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a question. It might not be relevant right now. It's just a question. Is there any impact on the customers of Fort Simpson are we going to see any reduction in the power bill, or is it going to be the same, or?
I knew that question was coming. I knew it. Okay, well, the way I can put it to you is, naturally, costs increase. You're not gonna see any direct increase from the project. And if we can hold rates, your fuel supply is definitely gonna be less. The only thing I will tell you is, and Sean knows too, is that the LNG plant would not give direct benefit to Fort Simpson because the rates are pooled in the thermal division, right? An example is Inuvik Wind. Inuvik Wind would hold the rates for customers in the north, all the Northwest Territories in the thermal division by 4.5% to 5% if that project goes ahead, just because of the reduction of the diesel fuel. So this is not as big a scale, but it would definitely help, right? I can't guarantee you that your power rate's gonna go down by 4 cents a kilowatt hour, so. I wish I could, but.
But definitely the push is on to try to knock back on the greenhouse gases, as you
Yes.
say. That's like something that everybody should be interested in doing. Is the long-term forecast for LNG good
Yes, it is.
versus what the price of diesel might look like?
Oh, yeah, the long-term forecast is like the rates of natural gas are gonna hold for the next 10 years.
Right.
So I think you're gonna see an upward increase in diesel fuel, due to the carbon tax rate.
Right.
Over years, so, and we're trying to avoid that. It's a good time right now, we have the federal government supporting these type of projects, so, would we be coming here, if it wasn't for that ISEP funding, the Power Corp wouldn't go and spend all that capital right now, right? This project's looking like about $23 million now.
And you're getting that 75% completely.
75% from the vets and 25% from the GNWT Power Group, which GNWT is our shareholder, right?
So the direct benefit to Fort Simpson is now we'll have two separate power plants. So if one floods or one has problems, you can go back to the other one.
Yeah, during a flood, there wouldn't be any concern anymore about supplying power towards the airport or anything like that. Sure, we had mitigations before with emergency generators that we have, but now you would have your main distribution up there, right?
Yeah.
So would you see us, like obviously filling up the LNG before breakup and freeze up? And then if it doesn't last till the next supply comes in, you just switch
Yeah,
over?
correct. Yeah, yes, Kevin, you're absolutely right. We try and fill up, get as many trucks in to fill up our tankage prior to the ferry going out and the ice road going up. Just for your knowledge, there was a difference of about $7 million in the tankage if we were to be able to run through that shoulder season.
Oh,
Which during the pre-feasibility study, we took like an average. I think sometimes you could go up to 30 days on either side, and the biggest one would be when the weights come up with freeze up, right?
Okay, Councillor Hassan again?
Thank you. This will be my last question.
No problem. You can ask as many
Thank
as you
you.
want. That's why I'm here.
I was reading on the news the other day on CBC that the GNWT is thinking of having study to have nuclear modular, reactors in the remote communities. Do you have any idea about that, or what are we in that
Well,
level?
I don't, my knowledge on it, and Daniel, you can add in too, that on a small scale for a community, there is no really nuclear reactor built.
Okay.
Right? There's larger ones built that naturally, supplied, but the small ones, like, if you ever went to the Inuvik petroleum shows when they were up there, their Inuvik energy shows there was these fellows that were up there, that we can have these small nuclear reactors. And when you actually ask them the question, well, do you have one built working somewhere? No. But is the technology out there to do it? Yes. I don't have any cost on nuclear reactors. And the other thing, sure, Fort Simpson doesn't quite have that permafrost, but there's also, that's one thing to look at because they would have bury them in the ground. And the other thing is that we had a director that came out of the U.S. Naval Academy with the nuclear subs, and you need a university nearby that's bringing out those students, right? Like if you look at, I'll give an example. We used to have first class steam people here at Inuvik because in Fort Simpson. I lived here for many years, since 1987. And basically it came down to, we couldn't keep the first class steam people here anymore, right? So can you imagine having nuclear physics engineers coming here to maintain that? So I don't want to put it down, but yes, you have nuclear is good technology, but I don't know of anything small.
I did some research on those a couple of years ago, and they're type 1 nuclear reactors. They're salt reactors. There's no real moving parts.
Mhm.
And the nuclear reaction is done inside of that rather than a chamber. And it's the size of the vat that keeps the reaction going, and they can use nuclear waste as a catalyst.
And then after, once it replenishes, then you have to have the cylinders or whatever replaced, right?
No, after you run out of catalyst, you can add more fuel. They're planning on them lasting up to 70 years, and after they're done, they're buried. They would recommend that you, instead of one battery per town, it would be 2, because once the system's hot, it becomes susceptible to earthquakes. It gets hot on the inside, so
Yes,
all
yeah.
the metals, when they shake.
Oh, so let it cool down, use another one. Bring
Sort
the
of,
second one
once
on.
you turn them on, you don't need to turn them off. And if there is an emergency, there's safety systems where there's a tube that goes into overflow tanks, I guess you can call them.
Mhm.
But they're smaller chambers, and being a smaller chamber, there's not enough space or volume
Hi, Randy, sorry for
to
that.
sustain the reaction. So the reaction just kills itself if there's any trouble in the system.
Just shuts the safety.
And all nuclear reactors in the world are all type 2 nuclear reactors. Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, Fukushima, they're all type 2. Type 1 nuclear reactors were actually designed first, but they didn't produce the materials they wanted for Cold War.
Mm.
So that's how come we have type 2s rather than type 1s.
Is there any small ones that you found that were actually in operation?
Their major issue with the whole system was the corrosion from the molten salt. Most metals can't handle those high temperatures with being in such close contact with salt. The only materials that they have are from nuclear submarines from the States, and that metallurgy on those are still classified. So that's the only thing that's holding it back. If that information was declassified, we'd have nuclear batteries everywhere.
There's the next project. But now for this one,
Yeah.
we'll stay on this one. Councillor Simpson, do you have any questions for Mike? On the, is he still there?
Just, it sounds really good. I'm really happy to hear that there's a project going up on the hill and that'll reduce the amount of erosion on the island. That's really good, and it's about time. And the other thing is just that if there's consideration given to the fire hazard that has been identified in relationship to that facility. I know that it would just be, like you said, everything has to stay really cold, right? And it has to stay frozen at 160 degrees even to store it, minus 160 even to store it.
Yeah.
So, it brings the responsibility of the fire situation back into focus again.
Yeah, he's talking like
And
forest.
maybe,
fire.
I can't stress enough that the damage that was sustained by Slave Lake and by Fort McMurray just in the last few years, and I just don't want to be on that list ever. And if Fort Simpson can do anything to avoid it,
Okay. Maybe we'll ask.
then we will be doing our part to help this project, because I think that it will do good for the environment. The less diesel smoke around, the better.
So what?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay,
thanks,
so
Mike.
Randy,
nice
what?
to see you, hear you in town there.
Okay, Councillor Simpson, it's Mike here. So we did, it's in the pre-feasibility already, we've identified that we want to knock some of the brush and the trees down behind the facility, but we are going to build towards the front half. And the reason why we want to do that is because of the sloughing that we know about when the geotech study was already done on it from the engineers. Tetra Tech was in town, I believe.
Mhm.
And they were the consultant that was doing that work. The thing that we want to definitely, if the project's going ahead, we're going to be meeting with the fire department, and we're going to have some training, and not to put out the fire, but one thing we will do on the site is that there'll be a header around the LNG storage facility that will have a fire nozzle put on every corner, that if a fire truck has to come, it'll be pumped out so the truck doesn't even have to go near it. They just have to come up and connect. to it with the fire nozzles on each corner. That's what we did in Inuvik. And with the fire chief in Inuvik actually at the time had experience of LNG. And so that's what we did. We installed a header right around the whole LNG facility. So the truck would just come there and put it up. If there was ever a fire. That would be,
a steam turbine?
Pardon me?
Is it a steam turbine?
Is it a steam turbine?
No, we would go with natural reciprocating engines. We're currently looking at Waukesha's, Caterpillars, and MTUs. So naturally, we want to go with the type of engine that's easy to get parts, easy to overhaul, train our staff, and also that best gas efficiency off them, right? We were also looking at Jenbachers, which is you might have heard of Jenbacher engines, but after what we've heard from Yukon Electric, we're no longer looking at Jenbachers. Their facility has 3 gas engines, and all 3 of their gas engines have had 3 sets of cylinder heads put on them, and they don't have over 12,000 hours on them. So we've done our research, and we know that the Waukesha's on gas and the Caterpillar units are very dependable.
So for example, Waukesha, that's the engine they used in Norman Wells for Enbridge. And they were super reliable.
And Caterpillars are actually.
Is there a sound mitigation measures designed into the project? Like, is there a way to bring down and reduce the noise for the neighbors? And the other thing is the generation going to be producing any extra heat? That could be maybe used at the shop, at the village shop next door, or I don't know. There's a way to. I'm just wondering if there's kind of an integrated way to just to sort of see if.
Okay. Yeah. So the first one, the sound mitigation, we would this plant would be new. I don't know if you noticed when we put the variable frequency drives on the rads in the one in Fort Simpson, but that would be one. And naturally, we'd go with hospital grade plus mufflers, which are two steps up from the mufflers that are currently at this power plant. Downtown.
And you mentioned you expect it to be about half the decibels.
The decibel reading, the decibel noise off a gas engine is like half of a diesel engine.
Right.
If you had a Caterpillar on gas and the same engine on diesel, it's like half the decibels.
And then the part about heat.
The heat, we can definitely look at the heat. There'd be lots of heat off those engines to be supplying to the village. But right now, if that's something and the project goes ahead, then the sooner we know that, we can engineer that in. If there wants to be heat, we're going to be right beside it. So there'll be so much heat.
It'd be nice to get some heat in the village.
There'll be lots of heat. Lots of heat. So, but currently right now, we did not even think about that because we didn't know if there was a customer if the project's going forward. But if that's a request, the heat, naturally our building will be heated by the engines.
Right.
And we heat the natural gas and turn it into a gas, right?
So basically and your other question was about the tankage there when you were talking about the possibility of a fire in that and keeping the product cool. It doesn't flash up because of warming up. What it does when it warms up, it basically turns into natural gas inside the tank. And the tanks are built like a double, your thermoses with your inner and outer, and they're totally insulated. So that's what keeps the product cool inside there. When the facility first would be started up, you would have to bring in a nitrogen truck to cool the tanks off. Then they get rid of the nitrogen and then bring in the LNG into that tank. And you never drain the tank totally to zero. Because then you got to bring the nitrogen back in, like through the shoulder seasons. We always, in Inuvik, we always have to keep about 6,000 liters in the 70,000 liter tanks. Just to keep them chilled.
Okay, those were good questions there, Councillor Sibiston.
There sure was. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, did you have any questions for Mike?
No, thank you, Mike. That was really good.
Okay. Well, of course, we can look at the motion here, which says that moved by Councillor Bellefontaine, seconded by Councillor Lafferty, no, I'm reading the wrong one here. The motion is actually on this issue, moved by Councillor Auger, seconded by Councillor Hassan. They're all mixed up here.
I think,
Now we got it.
I had it on the agenda.
It is those two,
I had it down here on the agenda,
right,
and then added the delegate after.
right. So although, yeah, we're just asking the questions, this will be an issue to, I guess we'll go by the agenda here. We won't do it right now, but, are there any other questions for Mike?
I do.
Yep.
When are things going to start happening? Like, when are we expecting movement to start happening over at the site?
If we get approval, we are going to go into the final design phase. And so the first thing that would be is procurement, because there's long lead items for cryogenic equipment. The tanks and the vaporizers and that type of equipment would be anywhere from 12 to 14 months. And same with the engine supply. So that would be the first thing once we got approval to get the tenders out for the equipment, and then final design and start civil work in 21. So,
Yeah, next year?
yeah, this summer. This coming
Oh,
summer,
this coming summer?
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, let's move on. If you do have any last questions that come to mind, we can certainly ask. Mike, if you're going to stick around to see the vote on the development permit application here shortly,
Sure.
then if any councilors come up with another question, we could always have that put out there just before we have that vote, okay?
That's why I'm here.
Okay.
Mayor Riley. I want to make sure that the council and yourself are very happy and comfortable. And
Okay, so Mike will stick around, and going down the next item on our agenda, we got,
Hey, Sean,
yes, Councilor Siviston?
just one thing before we move on, it's just about the sound and the location of the thing. The only thing I have is that if it's gonna be up high like that, the sound will be heard from a long way. And so I'm just hoping that the secondary
to extend the stacks.
sound mitigation be in place, in addition to what you guys might be planning.
Okay, go ahead, Mike. What do you?
We're definitely considering that, Randy, and what we were gonna do is extend the stacks higher up the mufflers.
Yeah, but that's not really what I was thinking about. Maybe an extra, really like a good, a big high fence or something, some way of reflecting the sound upward, or because for the sound to project over that amount of land, it's going to be heard, in the wintertime for a long ways away, and it's the same as anything else, right? There's a really, kind of a standard, super cheap way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are also the other, there's extra measures, and I know that those extra measures sometimes they can be a little bit pricey, like putting in an extra fence, or you know what I mean, like the extra fencing around the facility, or like because a lot of people live with the sound of the power cord. I used to spend a lot of time at Ted Trindle's house when we were kids, and the whole house would shake all the time. And I know that it's in a much better area that, you guys are moving out to industrial area. That's really good. And it's a good location, but it's just that the sound will project a long ways. And, you'll hear it from a long ways because it's up high. And even though it's quieter, and the higher it is, the more the sound will project, to the surrounding area. And it'll be heard all the time, right? So, what was once peaceful and still will now be, there'll be a din there. There'll be noise in the air. And, everything, and that's why the mitigation is what I'm referring to, is a secondary mitigation measure just in order to maintain the peace, as it were.
Okay, I have a note here and I will definitely bring that into, if the project goes forward to, our final design.
Yeah. Another good point there, Councillor Siddiston.
But the hospital grade mufflers make a big difference. Like we did a conversion in Inuvik. What our Wartzillers were quite old because they've been there for 15 years and it's like an old car. You need to upgrade your ignition system at some point, right? So we did a big upgrade on our ignition system, and during that time, the Wartzilla, the company had some issues with the programming on their unit, and they actually caused a little bit of a oops, and had too much gas going into the engine at the wrong combustion cycle, and actually ended up having a fire inside the exhaust pipe, which got so hot that it actually melted that muffler that we had on that unit. So we went and bought the hospital grade extreme muffler. Now you can barely even hear that engine running.
Yeah.
So Sean can follow up with the mayor there, she'll tell you.
Oh, that's good.
So, but good point there, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm just thinking about the protection of the building because, for instance, if for instance, the building were to like a kind of like a fence that is like a very strong fence is what I was asking for, just to guarantee that in addition to the facility that exists there, that it's not just a chain link fence going around it, but there's a concrete fence or some kind of a fence that is very high and it's surrounding the whole facility and it's aimed to protect the neighborhood from any noise and protect the noise from projecting out towards the river and towards the grow cap and out over the land there. And then the other reason is it will help protect it from fire as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that's all I'm into saying is I'd like to see some really, like if you guys could really just make a fantastic fence, please for the good fences make good neighbors, it's been said.
Okay.
Well, with the key being that as long as noise is reduced to a level that's much, acceptable to everybody. You can't run engines with no noise. We start up our cars in the morning, they make noise, right?
Well, along the freeways in Alberta, they have fences so that they protect the value of the neighborhood, right? Because they don't want the freeway sounds, and right, that's why they have cement fencing. So that's what I'm saying is that, for that reason, the same reason as they have cement fencing over there, I would say that's a good idea to have it over there as well. So I would recommend to have basically concrete fence surrounding the facility.
Okay, well, your concern's noted for sure. Yeah, Mike.
Well, it's just something for safety, because if the thing blows up, there's a cement fence there. And basically, there's, like I said, good fences make good neighbors.
Okay.
Keep the noise down. It's like, because, the noise is a considerable industrial development. And it's 24/7 until the foreseeable future. And so for that reason, the fencing, good fences make good neighbors.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to item 7, adoption of the minutes. I've got a motion moved by Councillor Bellefontaine, seconded by Councillor Rafferty, that council approve the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting 12-2020 of December 14, 2020, as presented, unless anybody has any changes. Yes.
I do. I was not at this meeting.
Okay, and your name is on there?
Yes.
Okay, so Councillor Lafferty asked to have her name deleted from the. All right. So with that change, so as amended, are there any other amendments? All right. So the wording is now the council approves the minutes of the COW 12-2020 of December 14, 2020 as amended.
Sean,
Yes.
was Lisa McPherson at this meeting?
Liza. No, I think Liza was already gone, eh? Was she? She went to Yellowknife last week.
December 14th?
There were very few people at that meeting.
Yeah, we just barely cool off that.
Right.
Liza,
Number
Councillor
14.
McPherson was there, yeah.
She was there?
Oh,
Card 12.
yeah.
She was, yeah.
Okay. There she's written down.
Yeah, I have her there.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well, we'll
have
double check.
Lisa.
Councillor McPherson's there.
Yeah. Well, we'll be double checking that one anyway, just because of the error with Councillor Lafferty. But it seems like that might be the only mistake made there.
Yeah, we'll put it anyway.
Okay, so as amended, all those in favor?
I'm
Yeah.
in favor.
Okay, and Councillor Siviston? In favor of approving those minutes? Councillor Siviston, are you there?
He said yes.
Oh, it's okay, I didn't hear that. Okay, that's 7-4 and none against. Motion's carried. Minutes are approved. Okay, number 8, Mayor's report. Well, I did attend an open house for the Extreme Weather Warming Center on Saturday, this last Saturday. Totally open with volunteer help and the contribution by businessman Hassan using his old Unity store. This is with no money contributed from government at all. It's just humanitarian action taken because of the extreme cold weather. We're hoping, though, that the territorial government will look at the proposal that's in place and been submitted to actually run this facility for the rest of the winter. Fully functional, so it will be open every evening rather than just when we have volunteers and when it's extremely cold. Anything from now until the end of April is basically cold enough to kill people if they're out all night long or find themselves in distress out in the weather. So we're hopeful that that will move ahead, but I was really pleased to see how many people from the community showed up to give support to this whole idea. And it's been one that the council has been pushing for through its actions with the interagency group. And I'm just really thankful for everybody's help that took it this far, and the people who wrote the proposal. I think we're almost there. We'll just keep the push going here to get it to where it's fully funded and operational. Okay, any questions?
Celine here.
Yep, go ahead.
I just want to say I'm very grateful and I'm very thankful to you and especially Moz for you guys caring so much for our people in the community. I hope everything goes well and thank you very much. Although I missed the opening, hopefully we get some money so somebody could start working on it.
Okay. All right. So if there's no other questions there, comments, I'll turn it over to our SAO, SAO Corrigan. Did you have any updates?
I've got nothing today.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions for the SAO? Okay. No. All right. Under tabled items and old business, we have none today. Committee minutes and recommendations, none today. 11 new business. We've got the landfill project, and this is something new. So, SAO Corrigan, do you want to just go over what that is?
Sure. So MACA are submitting their own ISIP application for cleaning up landfills in the whole region. It's mainly focused on cleaning out metals and removing hazardous waste from the landfills. The more communities that they can get on board, the better value for money we'll be getting, as in like the more material that's being moved, the cheaper it's going to be individually. They've estimated that to remove the scrap metals and hazardous waste that we have in our landfill, it's going to be in the region of $130,000. 75% of that will be covered by ISIP, and the other 25%, which is $31,000, will come out of our CPI. And that can come out of 2022 or 2023. So it's work that we're going to eventually have to do to our landfill anyway, whether it's now or in 5 years down the line. And if we can get 75% covered now, and MAC are doing all the project management, so as far as I can tell, it's win-win all around. So it will come across council again. Right now, this is just to show that we're supporting the application, and then a memorandum of understanding will come back in front of council again after it's approved.
Okay, and we've got the funding that we could make that happen in our capital plan? Or is this like an operational monies thing?
It'll come out of our capital plan.
Okay,
It'll come out of CPI. It's all our CPI is tied up till next year.
and that's
So I
why,
asked MAC if we can push our contribution back to 2022 or 23, which is perfectly doable. And they said, yeah, that's fine.
okay. I know from looking at the dump myself, I see that pile of metals is, it grows pretty fast. It's only been a few years since we had the dump cleared out, and that certainly gave us more years of use. I remember 10 years ago being on council, 10 or 12 years ago, and they were talking like as if the dump had only a few years left and we'd have to go get a whole new landfill and decommission the old one. And then the council started seriously looking at how to clean up the existing site, and the main thing that happened was removing all those metals, which opened up a lot of space. And so I think by staying on top of it with a joint kind of project with other communities, because our cost is low here, it's something that should seriously be considered. Any questions for the SAO? Okay.
I don't have any.
Okay, well, as the SAO mentioned, it's more or less just a commitment of support to say that we are definitely interested in the project at this time. And at some point, we'll be signing a memorandum if that comes our way. Another chance to look at it, but this indicates a willingness to go ahead. And I've got a motion moved by Councillor Auger, seconded by Councillor Hassan, that council supports MACA's ISIP application for removing scrap metals and hazardous waste from the Fort Simpson Solid Waste Facility, as well as other community landfills in the Decho region, and that the village's contribution will be $31,712 in the form of CPI. Any further questions, comments? All right, can I show of hands? See a show of hands? Okay, and I've got 5, and Councillor Sibiston, you in favor of that?
Yes.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor Antoine, you in favor?
Yes.
Okay, that's 7 in favor and none against. Motion's carried. And now, 11B, I've got a motion moved by Councillor Auger, seconded by Councillor Hassan, that council approve the development permit application of the Northwest Territories Power Corporation for the development of a new liquefied natural gas plant on Lot 8, Plan 614. Now, because on the development permit, it showed like 2 lots. Should this be?
I think originally there were 2 lots, but then
It is 2 lots,
So should we convert that? It's lots.
unless they change it and call it A and B.
Maybe it's all one.
I think it's all one now. I think originally it was 2, but it's all.
So
Maybe when they gave you the second lot, it's all.
when the second lease was approved, because there was some cleanup that had to be done on that lot before NTPC could get the lease from the GNWT or from lands,
Right.
how they call it. So they may have changed it.
Okay. Yeah, our map show 1 lot
Shows
now.
one
Yeah,
lot.
it shows it as 1 lot, yeah.
So, but
I know there was some discussions over that we
Right.
had internally with Power Corp, and we didn't know how it was gonna be. So they must have, that must be an updated map?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
And we know what we're approving anyway, because we can see this
Yeah.
map.
Okay.
So if it turns out that this isn't quite accurate, it goes by this map, right? Which
Yeah.
shows, you know, a line between the two, but it could be
That's
that.
not a line, that's not a line, that's just showing distance here.
Oh, okay, so as far as we know, that entire area
Yeah.
is one lot. If it isn't, we'll describe it differently when we.
Okay.
Okay, so are there any last comments or questions before we vote on this motion? Now, what's the procedure with this? When we vote yes, what's the next
Once
step?
it's approved, we'll post a notice on site, giving residents 2 weeks to object.
Okay, and I did notice in the application that Power Corp said they were gonna put a 4x8 sign up, saying that the project, there was a development permit applied for this job, so that anybody who was, you know, in the neighborhood or around there would see the sign for sure.
And it's not there?
Oh, I don't know, haven't looked.
We'll go have a look.
Okay,
I haven't looked either.
If not, we'll make sure that
But
there's one
we, you know, I think
quickly.
it might be, because of the nature of the project, it might be a good idea to make a bit more effort to inform the community and make sure people have the chance to voice their concerns.
right. I mean, when it's posted, I think sometimes we just describe lots. It'd be nice to show a map.
Yeah.
Just so that they know, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, other than that, any other concerns or questions? All right, all those in favor? I've got 5 hands. Councillor Siviston,
Yes, that's fine.
okay, and Deputy Mayor Antoine.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 7 in favor, none against, motion's carried. So that development permit is approved, pending, I guess, the 15-day,
14-day notice.
14-day notice period. Okay, and if we do get concerns back, then we convene to hear those concerns or review those concerns. Okay. So, well, I'd like to thank Mike for being here. I don't know if you want to stay till the end of the meeting or not, but
No, I think I can go now.
yes, you can go. Okay, well, I just want to give you a chance to.
But I really thank the mayor and council
Thank you.
for taking the time today. And if there's any more questions, just let Kevin know, and Kevin has my contact number, and you all got my phone, my direct line too now. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me. We will be definitely, like I say, doing some safety awareness of LNG. You know, we won't bring goldfish because they actually try and put a goldfish in there for a few minutes. I've seen, you might look at that, Ferris has one on YouTube where they actually put a goldfish into the LNG, freeze them and bring them out real quick, and he thaws and he starts swimming away. We won't be doing that, but I know that Ferris has a comprehensive, you know, if the fire department at some time wants the training, I will definitely, you have my word that we will make it happen.
That's good.
Because they actually went to Whitehorse and they have been putting on fire training for YEC, just in case, right? So, and they'll do awareness, community awareness. We can have a community meeting to bring anybody that wants to come to the community, you know, have an open forum. I know we can't do it right now, and that's why we're not offering it up.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of people that we can have in one place at one time, but that's something that we would like to do. And just go make everybody, you know, aware of what LNG really is.
Okay. Well, appreciate that, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Danny.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for
Danny,
coming
and
here.
thank you, Mike.
Thank you both, Mike and Danny.
Thank you.
All right, councilors, going back to our agenda here, we do have the issue of the land lease bylaw. And I've got a motion moved by Councillor Bellefontaine, seconded by Councillor Lafferty, that bylaw 2020-006, a bylaw to acquire real property, be read a third time and passed. And, yeah, SAO Corrigan, did you want to just remind us of what that
Sure.
issue is regarding?
So the fire break that we had planned around Wild Rose, we were all ready to get going on that work. And we got a phone call from the superintendent of lands saying that we need a lease on that property before we can actually do that work. So that's what this lease application is for.
Merry Christmas.
Okay.
Happy New Year to all.
Thank you.
See ya. Stay safe.
Thank you.
It's getting short. I know it's been a long in the tooth with COVID and that, but we'll, by fall time, I think we'll be back to normal.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good one, Mike.
Mike.
We'll get that notice up in the new year.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
See you later.
Okay.
Yeah, so that lease application, just so we can move ahead with that fire break work.
Okay. So any questions on that? We have passed the first and second reading.
Don't we have to have the full?
Oh, we did the first and second reading though, at the last meeting. Like you're
Last
thinking
regular
if we can
meeting.
do all three and how is it we're already on the third, eh?
No, I know, I was here when we passed it.
Yeah.
But I thought we all had to be here for the third reading.
No,
No.
Oh, okay.
no, only if we were to do all first, second and third in one meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Concerns? No? All right, show of hands then, all in favor of, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Councillor Sibiston, are you in favor of applying for this lease?
Yes.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, that's 7 in favor, none against, motion's carried. Correspondence and information, none. Council matters and concerns, maybe Councillor OJ, you want to start with any council issues or concerns?
None whatsoever. Thank
Okay,
you.
Councillor Hassan.
We don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Morrow.
No.
Councillor Belfontaine.
No, things are good.
Okay.
Nothing right now.
Okay, Councillor Lafferty.
No.
How about Councillor Sibiston? Any council issues or concerns?
Well, cost of living, you know, I'm in favor of agriculture. You know, I've been growing potatoes for a few years and I still have, 5,000 pounds of potatoes in the root cellar. And, still just selling a little bit here and selling a little bit there, and cleaning out the odd time I'll wash, maybe 100 pounds or so and then sell them. But, I'm just thinking about the Chicken Gate scandal, as I sort of fondly remember it there, regarding the legality of having animals, and I'm really just thinking about food security and whether or not the natural bounty of our land is maybe useful for agriculture, and that we might, as a community, to provide a zoning, an agricultural zoning in the bylaws.
Yeah. Well, definitely something that in our community plan, which is underway, I don't know if you've taken the time yourself there, but you should fill in the survey that's being circulated. It's there's a pile of surveys right here at the village. I think it's online too, on our fortsimpson.com page. But those kinds of ideas, you got to put them down on a paper so that at least our consultant can incorporate those kinds of ideas. It's all part of the community consultation. I agree that that's a very valid point you make about the creating a zoning for it, which means that we could sort of look at separate taxation rates, which might be an incentive to encouraging the development of further agriculture in the area. And if that turns out to be the focus that the community wants us to make, then that's certainly something we should be doing. I agree.
Thank you. I just think that it might, that something like that might help to encourage, more agriculture in the area and open up some of the land that's right now just a fire hazard to us.
Yeah, sort of a double benefit. True.
And recreational lands as well. It's nice to have big open areas where, you know, for events and stuff like that. It's good to have that. I always enjoy that. You know, whenever I go down south, I like the view. You know, I like to see nicely cleared land and stuff like that. It's not something that I abhor. Let's put it like that. You know,
Yeah.
I like it. You know, I like cleared land. I like agriculture. You know, and it's you know, it's kind of good. You know, you don't see the moose are not starving in Alberta, right? The caribou and stuff are, you know, can't jump over the fences. I guess maybe the elk can. I don't know. Maybe the deer. I'm not too sure, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely highlighting the need for a look at the agricultural policies and zoning that the village is adopting in our new community plan. That's important. So
Food security, local food is really important. And the other thing is, like, this is councillor concerns, and the other thing is too is that I've been doing a little bit of research about waste management, and what I found out is that there are a lot of communities and municipalities in Scandinavia who burn their garbage, and they basically burn it at really high temperatures, and they create electricity with it. So, you know, while we're, you know, basically pushing it into a heat, there's actually a lot of energy there, and they are to the point where their waste management system is so effective, it's so well organized that they can, that they're actually buying waste from other municipalities. They're shipping it in, like, basically, you know, they're shipping it in so that because it's fuel to them.
mm-hmm.
So while we're building LNG that are big, you know, risky, you know, big giant tanks and high pressure systems, and I know it's involved in LNG. LNG is, you know, a miracle system, but in storage and stuff. But it's, you know, a modern wonder. But at the same time, you know, we have all of this waste, and we're not benefiting from it. We're paying for it. You know, we're buying all the plastic, we're buying all the paper garbage from the store. They're shipping it in constantly, and it's constantly coming in, and we should be at least benefiting from burning it somehow. I was noticing that, you know, that these countries are just so far ahead of us, and how come we can just be getting left behind? And it makes me wonder whether or not, you know, that we should look at some of those waste management solutions that are, you know, just to, you know, is there a way of researching that before, like, because I know we're in a community planning, but is there a community planning research phase to look at other communities that are doing, you know, to compare other communities our size in different jurisdictions around the world internationally to see what solutions they've come up with? Is there, so that we can develop a community plan that actually has a you know, a useful effect?
Yeah, well, those are issues that come up, like the, you know, the fact that we have a landfill that we want to extend the life of and gain benefits from if we can, as you say, because there's cost savings involved in the green technologies, use of those things. Sure, that's the kind of feedback you do get from these surveys, and you know, I'd say your points are valid. We usually look to larger communities or other jurisdictions to see what they're doing. Even entrepreneurs who come forth and you know, have ideas to put forth that make sense for a municipality. These things are, you know, you can only go so far into them because there's so many things that you could look at that you don't want to spend all your time researching what are essentially prototype, you know, pilot project things, right, in many different places now. It doesn't mean that somebody can't run such a pilot project in Fort Simpson, but it's kind of up to entrepreneurs and other levels of government to get involved with this stuff as well. It's putting a lot on our little town administration to be doing a lot of research in those areas, but it's not that we're closed off to that. We certainly open to it. It's just how far down can you go that route? But it's a good idea. I mean, you're looking at it.
Well, I have to consider it because I have to, try to reduce the waste that we manage. So one of those things, right?
Yeah.
Like, and for just regarding agriculture and just as personally, I'm thinking, for myself, boy, it'd be great to be able to have just a compost where everybody feeds a bunch of chickens or something like that. It's practical and it's the way to get rid of a lot of waste, a lot of stinky waste that will basically just stink up a big area and attract a whole bunch of bears. And then instead of feeding a whole bunch of bears and wolves and ravens and eagles, we can feed a bunch of, feed a whole bunch of chickens.
Yeah.
Or something, it's a waste management strategy. It's old-fashioned stuff, really, and I don't know if it's scalable to the point where there's a way to administer it. But I'll tell you what, the village of Fort Simpson, should really. I of course that my opinion is that agriculture is just a good way to eat. It's a good way to live. It's a good way to eat. It's in harmony with nature, and when it's a good way to. Good way for Fort Simpson to differentiate itself too as in our region and in our territory as a real this is a productive region here. This is a really good growing region, very healthy gardening area, and that we can benefit from it. And that's our food supply. And the more local it is, the better. Then a lot of Alberta, even in Alberta, a lot of these high producing regions, their desire to eat local food is still very high, and it's just because it's healthier. So
Yeah.
healthy
I got to cut you off there, although I'm not doing it because I don't agree with you. I like your ideas. It's just that we got to get around the table, and we usually keep this section not too long, but I do appreciate your input. It's valid for sure. Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and have a safe holiday if I don't see you before. Thank you.
Same to you.
Thank you, and same to everybody.
Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas.
everyone.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. Have a good one.
Okay, so with that, normally we might adjourn before we go in camera, but it hasn't been that long. Now, Councillor Bellefontaine and myself are going to be leaving the room. Deputy Mayor, would you like to lead the discussion then once we leave?
I don't think I could. I'm not there physically. Is there somebody else there that could do that?
Okay. Councillor Hassan, would you like to do that then?
I think you can
Thank you.
ask anyone if you can let me, because I really want to speak.
Oh yeah. Well, I think, there's nothing says you can't speak.
Okay.
Because what you collectively decide in camera, there's no decision.
Okay.
I mean, when you come out, you hold a vote, I guess, and
Okay. Okay, I'll be okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're okay.
There's ways with it. Well,
Okay.
we'll do this.
and sometimes it's just simply a recommendation comes out where it's not even a motion or a resolution, right?
Okay.
So,
I need
okay, Councillor Hassan will do that, and
I'll start the vehicle, so it'll be warm.
Councillor Bellefontaine and myself are leaving the room. So okay.
We should turn off the camera.
Okay, and now let's turn the camera off.
Can you stop it?